Okay, so I will go ahead and begin. It's about 11:05. I want to get started because we have a awesome webinar for you guys today. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that there's a lot of things that you guys could be doing, and I'm sure there's a lot of work on your desk, but you chose to be here to attend this webinar. And we promise you guys it will be a treat because we do have a special guest today. He's already on the call. I'm so excited to introduce him to you. But before that, let me go ahead and get started and give you guys a little background about our company. This presentation or this webinar is not about our platform, but more about the implementation of mobile in the workforce, or how you could use mobile technology in the workforce. If you guys do want a demo of our solution, our mobile solution, you could request that at the end of this, but this is more for those of you that are thinking of implementing it, what's the best way to use it at work and stuff like that. And our special guest today will share with you guys his experience in their first 3 months of rolling out this technology at their organization. As a reminder, we do try our best to record all webinars. So if you do have your cameras on, please turn those off because those will get recorded along with the webinar, and I wouldn't want to distribute that when we send this out to everybody else. So be sure your cameras are turned off. So let me go ahead and begin. Just to give you guys a little background about Train by Cell, we are based out of San Francisco. We've been in business for about 5 years with over 250 clients globally. These are some of the clients that we do have. Our solutions are, we provide cloud-based solutions that provide stored content, allows you to engage, test, train, and teach your audience or your employees. And the 3 mobile solutions that we have are mobile websites or native apps, text messaging alerts, and audio dial-in info lines. Just to give you guys an overview of what the topics that we're going to discuss today, as promised, you will hear from one of our special guests. He is on the call already, so I'm excited to introduce him. You will also hear from our very own CEO, David Asheim, regarding trends to successfully use or roll out mobile learning and training at your organization. We'll also share with you guys some real-world examples of how other organizations have used our platforms and what's worked for them and what hasn't worked for them. Dave has a lot of great insight regarding that. He's worked with so many organizations, helping them roll out mobile learning at their organization. So I'm excited for him to share that with you guys. So without further ado, let me introduce you guys to today's special guest, Marco Oliverio. He is from Paychex. He's a training support analyst in the Learning Technology Group. Marco, are you on the line with us?
I am. I'm here.
Awesome. Hi. Welcome.
Thank you very much. How you doing?
Great. And Marco, thank you so much again for joining us today. I know you're a busy man.
Well, thank you for
thank you. Absolutely, absolutely. So this call, just so you have an idea, the people on this call are either, representatives of organizations who are thinking of using mobile technology or trying to roll it out. Maybe some of them are just in the learning phase. They're not even sure where to begin or where to start. Or maybe they already started with something, but they just want to hear from other organizations what they're doing. So those are the type of people that are on this call. So tell us a little bit about your organization. I'm pretty sure most of us already know who Paychex is, but tell us a little bit about your organization and what you guys decided to do with how to use mobile technology.
So as you may or may not know, Paychex is a payroll company where in the United States and a couple other countries. We have about 14,000 employees. And I'm in the training department in the Learning Technologies Group. So my group handles specifically like the technology needs for our training department and for our trainees. We pride ourselves, we're top 125 for training. And so when I kind of inherited Train by Cell from my manager, who left shortly after I got here, but they were looking to implement some sort of mobile learning, mobile reinforcement training for our trainees, as well as for existing employees. And I think one of the most important considerations when we were looking to implement was really all around content, because it's great to have some sort of mobile platform, but if your content gets stale, isn't refreshed, or there's no reason for users to go back and look at it, then it's not going to get used. And so when we were looking at how we're going to use this mobile technology, that was really important to us, is trying to determine what's good content. Where does this fit into our overall, in this case, training strategy. We really use for training reinforcement and for disseminating information. Does that answer your question, Catherine?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you definitely hit on a great point there, content-wise, right? You're right, because if you don't actively update that, and I know you do a lot of that for Paychex, it does get stale and people won't respond to it. But I'll take it back a little, and I know you sent me some of the stuff that you wanted to go over, but how about let's start from, I know you inherited this from, I think it was Alex, right?
Yep.
And I don't know how far he took this before you joined, but I wanted to find out, politically, how did it go? Was the organization ready? Were they ready for this? How did you guys enroll them to start engaging with the mobile technology? Because this is something new. You guys didn't have a division like this before. What was that decision-making like, or planning?
Well, the decision-making process as far as choosing Train by Cell was done before I got here. But, I have found that there's been a great deal of excitement throughout the organization from the get-go. Once they saw the product and saw what it was capable of and what it did, a lot of the senior managers looked at it and started coming up with ideas saying, hey, we could use it for this, or we could use it for that. And in many cases, we almost have to put some controls on and put the brakes on in certain cases to say, well, let's take a look at how we want to use this and have a larger strategy as opposed to just letting everyone do what they want. So it was actually very, very well received, especially in the training department. Mobile learning and, mobile technology is growing. And so it was a matter of, how is Paychex going to use it? How is it going to fit into our larger strategy? So at least in our organization, there was a lot of excitement around it. So it was pretty easy. We did several, as part of getting people to buy in, I've done several presentations with various organizations within Paychex to start ideas of how we can use the technology.
Awesome. Now, you said earlier that content was key, right? So walk us through that process. Like a lot of the people that are probably on the call, that's probably one of the topics that they want to learn about is content. Like, how do you determine what goes on your mobile platform and what's okay to not be there, or what do you want to give employees access to? Walk us through like what the first step was, what your launch date or your first day of launch was like.
So, well, there's a couple questions there. So when we look at content specifically, one of the good things is because being in the training center and working closely, we have a whole groups dedicated to creating content for training and for Paychex. But what we found is like our first primary application of the software of Train by Cell was a podcast. So we have a group of employees that use they have a newsletter that's on our intranet, and they're required once a month to go and read this newsletter with pertinent information for them in various states around the country. And so what we did is we took that newsletter and had someone turn it into a podcast. They read it, the whole thing. So we have it in two forms. There's a full update, about 45 minutes long, and then each individual section is also its own audio broadcast. And so that was, in that case, the content was already there. We just the media needed to be different. In other cases,
may I ask a question? For that, there's newsletters for various states. Were you able to only show certain people those state-specific items? Let's say you have 5 people on this, and only 3 of them need East Coast and 2 of them need West Coast. So the 3 people that only needed East couldn't see the West?
So to answer your question, for us, the newsletter, we have all the sections there. We didn't break it up. But Train by Sal does have the option to limit what people see. So you can say that, employees A, B, and C are part of Group 1, and therefore they're only going to see these pages. So that is possible. We just chose not to do that.
All right, awesome. And who was that would just ask the question? That was a great question.
Oh, that's Jamie.
Oh, hi, Jamie. Okay,
Hi.
when you guys ask the question, please introduce yourself so we know who the question is coming from.
Oh,
question.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yep, I will do that next time.
No problem.
And by the way, anyone can feel free to just ask questions, just interrupt.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So going back to content then, with the newsletter, that was easy. It was already done. It just needed to be transferred. In other cases, we had recorded trainings, like recorded WebEx trainings that somebody wanted. And so in that case, we turned those into MP4 videos and uploaded that. And in other cases, they just wanted the audio from a WebEx. All right, so we did that. We've found that the audio feature, like putting that out there and having like a podcast type format, is really popular. That and video are the 2 most popular so far that various organizations have wanted to implement. We had one organization that wanted word tracks for salespeople out there, and then we found that seems like it's too wordy, so we want something more simple for them. We have a case where many of our employees have a lot of windshield time. They're in their cars a lot, and so the audio solution is something that they really keyed in on because they can listen to it, in their car, just as an example.
I'm sorry. May I ask another question? I'm sorry. This is
Absolutely.
You said that you get a lot of hits on the podcast. How were you able to determine that more people listen to the podcast instead of looking at the newsletter?
So, well, let me rephrase because I may clarify what I said to make sure that I didn't give any misinformation. So the newsletter has been out there for a long time, and I think that's still the primary vehicle. We released the newsletter in audio format in production in October was the first time we did it, and it's still slow. I'm not gonna say we have more hits on that than people that read the newsletter. So just to clarify that. But one of the nice things is because we have 2 sites, we have a private site and a public site with Train by Sal. And so because this newsletter has proprietary information, we created a login process. So you have to be a Paychex employee to create an account. And then once they create an account, they can go in and listen to the podcast. Anytime there are reports within Train by Sal that let you see who accessed what. Especially on that private site because they have to log in. So I could see exactly how many people have gone and listened to any particular training.
Okay, good. I was just wondering if there's like any statistical data to prove that, and it sounds like there is.
Yep.
Correct. Awesome. Now, Marco, do you guys usually push content, or do you have them text in as far as when you're sending them content? Because I know there's 2 ways to do it, right? You could either send them text alert, or you have them access it by them going to the platform. Do you guys do pushes and pulls that way? How do you guys do it?
Right now, we're still with the expecting the employee to log onto the site to see the new content. We are not yet at the point. We are looking at a couple different ways of using the text alerts. It comes down to. It's actually an HR issue because let's say that, as an example, you have an hourly employee, and if we were to get their cell number and text them work information, now we have to pay them for the time that they're on their phone looking at that. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
So,
correct. I know we had that discussion. Mm-hmm.
So we have to look specifically at the groups that we're going to use text alerts with, because it can't, we can't do it with everybody. So that's something that we haven't done anything in production yet with, but we have several ideas
For it. Awesome. Now, as far as promoting it to the employees, did you guys use any type of signage, or was it just an announcement that somebody did when you guys rolled this out? Because I'm pretty sure they didn't know about this, and you guys did something to make that announcement that you guys are rolling out something like this. Can you walk me through how that process was?
So right now, initially, what we've done is the business unit managers have disseminated the information to their employees via email. So let's take that first community of employees that we talked about with the newsletter. The manager or the director that was over that organization, they had emailed everyone in that organization, hey, this is coming, sign up for an account, and then you'll be able to access this newsletter on the go. The same thing with one of our sales organizations where they wanted to put some sales content, sales training content, same thing. What we're actually doing is, I'm on a team here at Paychex where we want to promote the use of technology within our company. And one of the things we're going to be doing is a multifaceted, I'm not going to say a newsletter, but it's going to be online type newsletter and intranet and several ways. And one of the things we want to do is pick various technologies, Train by Sell being one of them, to publicize. So right now the primary method is just direct communication for managers, but we are coming up with other methods to let both individuals know about it, but then also business units so that they can leverage the technology as well.
Awesome. Now, have you gotten feedback from the employees as far as what they're saying, how they're liking this, like any type of feedback, or have you guys figured out like what's good to go in the mobile and what's not good to go in the mobile based on that?
Generally, the feedback has been positive, and
okay.
I think it's a matter of looking at Train by Sell, at least for Paychex, as a small piece in a larger puzzle of or strategy of how you train or how you deliver content. It certainly cannot be the only method with which you disseminate information, but it certainly fills a niche there. So with that newsletter that I was talking about at the beginning, there was a need. They came back and said, hey, we want a way to consume this other than just reading it on the intranet. And so we kind of wanted to respond to that need. And so the feedback's been positive because that's what they were asking for, and we were able to deliver. And then, of course, you'll have people that come back and say, well, when I was listening to this podcast on this site, they did this, this, and this. So, it's a matter of, you can't make everyone happy. So there's, always opportunities for improvement there. And like I said, right now, that's the one thing that we've gone in production with that's actually live for our employees. And the second one is for sales is going live this week. So we don't have a ton of feedback yet because we just kind of started.
Awesome. So it's been very exciting. It sounds like it's been very exciting there as far as what you guys have done, and I know you've worked so hard in getting you guys up and running. I was wondering, is there a public information that our audience today can access or text into that you guys have?
On Trade by Sell?
I know you guys have a public site, and then I know you have your private site. I was just curious, is there one that they could, if they wanted to see what you guys were up to, was there a public site on our mobile solution that they can access or text into?
I don't see why not. If they wanted to look at the public site, a lot of what's there, though, it drives to the private site because we haven't put a lot.
Got it.
There's not going to be a lot to look at.
Got it. So if they did want to access that, do you want to give that information to them in case they were curious?
Sure. I don't have I'll have to pull up the site because,
Oh, no problem. So we could go over that later, and then you could just share it with me, and then when I send them a copy of this presentation, we'll include that.
Sure. That sounds good.
So that's another thing. I will try to send this presentation out to you guys. If you do want a copy of it, be sure to put your email at the chat box, or I'll put my email in the chat box so you guys could email me. So let's bring it back to knowing what you know now, right, after rolling this out and stuff like that. Is there anything that you would have done differently?
I think one of the things that we've been, I'm not going to say struggling with, but just kind of get your arms around is determining first what the bigger picture is going to be before letting everyone have a hand or say in what they want. What ends up happening is you have, different directors with different goals with what they want to accomplish, and we want to make as many people happy as possible and use the technology. You got to take a step back and say, even just organizationally, when you present the main page to the end users, what's it look like, and where is layout? And those things need to be thought of beforehand. Otherwise, you're going to be doing a lot of work and rework, fixing and moving things because you didn't put the thought in at the beginning. So that's, I think, one of the things. I think one of the things we did well, though, is I think was really a good idea is if you can get in front of various groups. Like we got in front of project managers, zone managers. We have a group called Learning Designers. They create our training content. And so we got in front of their team meetings, and I just had a little slide presentation with some screenshots of what the site looked like, QR codes, so that they could scan them and go to the site. And I think that had a really powerful impact because then people could see for themselves, hey, this is how I can affect change using this site. And so that was really a good thing that we did.
Awesome. Now, is there any other uses that Paychex might be considering for 2015 or other departments that want to incorporate this as well?
Well, absolutely. So right now we have the newsletter, and we have some ongoing training for one of our divisions. But there's a lot of other interest from other groups, like they wanted to do various announcements to the employees and do them via the Train by Sell site. We had questionnaires from one group because they wanted to do a questionnaire to a certain group, because you could essentially take a survey or a quiz and turn it into a questionnaire. And then speaking of quizzes, we have reinforcement quizzes that we're doing for one of our levels of training that we bring employees through here in Rochester, New York. And so after they go home, we're going to be texting them a link to a quiz to take so we can record that. So there's several different applications. As a matter of fact, once we're done here at 3:30, I have to join another meeting because they wanted to know how they could leverage Train by Sell for something they're doing. So it really kind of snowballs because I think mobile is very popular, and so there's a lot of different ways you can use it.
Marco, I have a real fast question, if I may, please.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go. Who is this?
You've discussed, I'm sorry, this is Adam Taylor from iTalk. You've discussed surveys, questionnaires, reinforcement quizzes. Have you found that there's a perfect balance in how often to give them quizzes, where too few, you don't get enough feedback, but too often and too many, it feels overwhelming to the students?
Adam, I don't know. I'm not sure if I can answer your question yet, and I only say that because we're still in the process of building that. And it hasn't gone live. We haven't actually done it. What we're doing is one quiz for 4 weeks, because this is between trainings. And so what they're going to do is they're going to leave training. On Monday, they're going to get a text with the link to the quiz. It's going to have 6 or 7 questions, not overwhelming. And then for the following 3 Mondays, they'll get 3 more texts with 3 more quizzes to do. And then since it's on the private site, it's on the public site, it's going to be, but we're going to, you can have them put in their name so we know who took it. their email address, and then you can record the results. We're going to start there and see how it goes. You know, you might get a terrible feedback. You know, you might hate it. I don't know yet. We're not there yet, so.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Awesome. Great question. So go ahead.
Marco, this is Jamie again. When they submit their answers on the quizzes or the questionnaires, do you have to go to the Guy by Cell website in order to get the answers, or how does that come to you?
So we go to the admin site to take a look at how someone did, how someone scored. The actual, when you set up the quiz, you would set it up to say, you know, here's the question, answer 1, 2, 3, or 4. I select 4 as the correct answer, and then we actually have it so that if they select question 1, 2, or 3, we can say, no, this is wrong because, and then if they select the correct answer, we'll say, yes, this is correct, and then we send them on to the next one. And then the reporting is done on the back end under the admin login.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Awesome. Any other questions out there before we wrap up Marco's portion of this webinar? If you guys have questions, you could unmute yourself and speak up, or there's also a chat box in the bottom left or bottom right. Feel free to ask your question there. Awesome. So while we wait for that to come in, Marco, thank you so much for being on this call today. We appreciate it so much. You brought in, was someone trying to ask a question? Hello? Hello? We appreciate you so much for being on this call, Marco. Final thought. Let's end this with that. What's the final thought for those of them that are just trying to start or wanting to start or still on the fence? What's your message to them?
I think I'm going to reiterate that once again. It's really about content and having a plan for where it's going to fit into your overall communication strategy, wherever you're going to implement it. Also, be creative in your thinking. You know, there are tools like the QR codes, so you could have a sign with a QR code. Hey, are you new here? Do you need directions to the airport? They could scan the QR code, take them to the page on the Train by Cell site, and with a map to the airport. Just there's a lot of ways to be creative with the technology. So plan ahead, you know, think outside the box as far as how to use it and have a, you know, overall strategy.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great information that he shared with us. We will now head on to the second part of the webinar. Marco, you are more than welcome to stay here and listen in. It will be our CEO, David Asheim, who will be sharing great insights on how our technology is being used with other organizations. That's great information for you as well. If you'd like to stay, you're more than welcome. Thank you again, Marco.
Of course, no problem.
So everybody, we are now in the second portion or part 2 of our webinar. And Marco just shared some great insights. So the second part of this will be our CEO going over some great real-world examples of how our technology is being used with other organizations. So we'll share that with you guys. But before I introduce him or bring him in, I want to go over some stuff with you guys. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this 70-20-10. It's called the Enterprise Learning Model. I'm sure some of you guys have heard it. For those of you who haven't, it says that 70% of what we know is on the job and project or task-based stuff. So these are 70% of what we know about what we do. We learn it on the job. 20% of that occurs through coaching or mentoring or someone teaching you. And 10% of what we know is from formal learning or structured courses where you go to a classroom and you guys can learn it. But the American Management Association recently wrote an article, and I forgot to link it here, but they said that mobile definitely bridges the gap between the three. Because even though you have 70-20-10, the 70-20-10 rule, there's still some gap in between those that would need, the follow-up or those touches or to increase the retention rate. And I think that's why there's even a space for mobile learning, is because it bridges the gap between those three. Snack learning. Before I'll show you guys some real-world examples. Mobile learning is definitely for, that bite-sized learning content, something that's, they could just access and read or watch for a few seconds and get the information that they need. I think in general, society thinks that our attention span has become shorter, and I think Google and YouTube has done that. Whereas if we wanted to learn something, we quickly just Google it or YouTube it, and we learn that way, right? So implementing mobile learning through providing bite-sized content is great. Allowing employees to access training in their own time and space is great because a lot of us, we do travel. When we have some downtime, we could access certain contents when we need to. So we'll share some of that, and we'll go into more details here in a few minutes. So before I bring in the next slide, I'll go ahead and call in Dave, our CEO, David Asheim. Are you on the line with us? He will
I
go
am.
over.
Can you hear me, Catherine?
Awesome, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Great.
Awesome. So he'll go over
right.
some real-world examples with us. Awesome.
Well, and I want to wrap up in about 5 or 10 minutes, so we won't continue much past that except for Q&A, but thanks for everybody to sit in. It's great. We've got clients on the line. We've got consultants. We've got a wide array of good talent on the call. I think a lot of this content that I'm going to review, this comes from how we have seen our clients use these tools. And when we first went down this path, we thought, okay, this is going to be, e-learning is going to turn into mobile learning, and people are going to spend 30, 40 minutes on their phone. They're going to do all of these kinds of things that they were doing on their computer. That's how we built the company 4 or 5 years ago, and it turned out that was really false. It's just not the way people are using these tools. People want information on demand. They want little bite-sized bits, 1 to 4 minute little interactions, or before they go into a sales call, or when they're trying to fix a problem, or they're trying to learn something, then they'll access this on their phone or their tablet. But this notion that mobile learning is going to turn into kind of an e-learning replacement, at least for the time being, using a cell phone versus a tablet, we are just not seeing it. What we are seeing are these 9 things, and I think probably 2 years ago this list was maybe only 4 or 5 things long. But we've got about 350 clients now signing up, maybe 4 or 5 major clients a week, and the uses are just incredible in how they're using this. So I'll go through these really quickly, and then we will send out an email with a copy of these slides and a copy of the presentation so that you can look at these and see which ones resonate with you. Because if you're in HR, you're maybe very interested in number 4, but if you're in sales support, number 4 is not interesting to you, but you want to know about what Marco's doing at Paychex on mobile sales support. So let's just go through these a little quickly. Performance support is probably the number 1 thing we're seeing. Let's send an email, let's send a text with the bit.ly, a little URL, to a web page that they've created using a platform like ours. It's got a video, it's got a little bit of content, it's the tip of the day, it's maybe a 30-minute course that's been broken into 15 2-minute segments, and I'm going to drop that off. I'm going to schedule it to go out Thursday at 4 o'clock, and then, like you see on the right side, I'm going to log in tonight to see who looked at it. What pages did they look at? How long were they on the phone? Since everything is cloud-based, you, for the first time, have a very good sense for what the hot buttons are and what people are really paying attention to. So Marco is going to be able to, after he has 3 or 4 months of case studies, he's going to be able to run reports and say, wow, sending these messages out in the morning is more or less effective than the afternoon. Sending messages that have a video is more effective. We've found, for example, including quizzes and polls and surveys to be very effective, but cloud-based tools allow you to know that. So performance support, probably the number 1 use of these tools. Content storage is really right up there, too. We have so many clients that say, wow, I've got all these videos. I've got my HR manual. I've got the tasks. I've got Word docs. I've got agendas for meetings. My people might not need to get access to this maybe more than once a month, maybe once a year if it's HR-related stuff. But wouldn't it be great that it's on a platform that I can check and change anytime? And so content storage of all types is what is the second thing that we've been seeing. Our platform allows you to drag and drop these little icons that represent elements. Might be a little hard to see, but you can drop down images and video and text and any of these things into this body, and it instantly creates this mobile platform. Number 3, alerts and reminders. I think Jamie's on the phone, and her organization has been using text message alerts and reminders. Jamie, if you're here, go ahead and chime in.
Yeah, we just use the text message for alerts that to our dealer partners when there are systems that are down they can't use, or if a new program comes out. So it's just like an alert message system for us.
Yeah, and Jamie's with BMW Finance. Jamie, let's just chat a minute. Do people like getting these texts on their phone? Is there resistance? What's the pro and con? What are you finding with the texting?
There's no cons, that's for sure, and they love getting the text messages because it's instant and they can automatically see what's going on without even have to go into our system to see that there's an issue.
Yeah. And I remember when we first went down the path with you that there were a couple of different ways that people could opt in for their department. And you, as you well know, have all these various regions. Maybe you could talk about how your dealers and the employees can go to a website and pick various boxes, and then they're enrolled in those accounts.
Yeah, so what we did, we sent out our dealers a link. If they wanted to sign up for text messaging, we gave them the option, and they clicked on a link. They clicked their specific area manager, and then their dealer name was under that manager, and they just clicked their dealer name and entered their name underneath of that. It literally took them maybe 35 seconds to sign up, and it was really easy.
And have you seen any resistance with people using their own phones? Because these phones are not all BMW Finance providers' phones, I'm guessing.
No, they're not. None of really, maybe only out of the 350 to 400 people we have on this, I think maybe 5 people have BMW phones because it's our dealers. BMW Financial doesn't pay for our dealer's phones, so it's their personal cell phones.
Yeah, that is something that, 3 or 4 years ago when we went down this path, I was really concerned that employees would just not want to use their phone for business use. And I gave a little talk last year at the Work-Life Balance Conference, which my wife thought was pretty funny that I was giving a talk at a work-life balance since I have no work-life balance. But anyway, one of the big topics that came out of that conference is that when because people are so engrossed in their phone, they are now finding it so helpful that they can access work if they need to in an evening or on a weekend, and they also don't feel so tied to their chair. If they have to pick up their kids at soccer, they have to run out, they have to do something. It's more of a fluidity, I think, that gives people the chance to not be tied to their workstation. And so there is more of an acceptance for using their phone to check email or, like you were saying, to get text messages. So it's certainly something that we're seeing. Okay, thanks, Jamie. Let me just keep on going here. Quizzing and testing, that's probably number 4 on our hot list. Will include polls and feedback. With these mobile tools, you can create a poll in a few minutes, send it out by email or by text, and say, hey, we have this issue. There's a competitor coming on board. We're trying to improve our XYZ. What do you think? Give us your feedback. Give us your comment. We have found that if you send somebody a video and you add a little poll or a quiz at the end, you will get 5 times more people participating in that exercise and in the next one because they view it almost like a game-like situation. And I know you're not thinking of trying to create this into a game, but it's interesting if you if you weave the experiences that a person has when they're using their own phone, they're texting their friends, their kids, their parents, they're checking mobile websites, they're checking social media sites, if you use that same persona, you will find that you'll just be blended right into the Twitter feeds that they're checking in their social media, and it's just one more thing that they'll do during their day on their phone. Onboarding, another big topic. One of our clients is Intel, and they're just starting to figure out how they want to use mobile for some games and texting and reminders and scavenger hunts to try to create a little bit more exciting and interesting onboarding experience. And then, of course, you could load all the various documents you need to. Basic training. Here's
before we proceed, I beg your pardon. Before we proceed past that, can I ask a question about onboarding?
Yeah, let's go.
Would you describe, is this onboarding of new employees, onboarding of new trainees, onboarding of new customers? Can you specify what you mean by onboarding in this?
When we think of onboarding, we're thinking of new employees to a company. We haven't had somebody ask about onboarding of new clients, but that is kind of an interesting topic. The onboarding, here's what some of our clients are saying. They're saying the onboarding has gone from 5 days to 2 days to maybe a couple of hours, and here's a headset, here's a computer, and off you go. And there are quite a few studies out by, like the Best Places to Work, I think, has a great study that says something like an employee's reaction and how they feel about a company is locked in the first day or two on the job, regardless of how long they work. They think back on that experience. So many large companies are coming to us saying, how can we make this more engaging, more fun? How can we give them all these resources that if they need them, it's not in a big 3-ring binder, they can access it on their own device. And so many of these employees, of course, are not even tied to a computer anymore. They're drivers, they're nurses, they're physicians, they're phlebotomists, they're all out in the field. And so what these groups are trying to do is, A, put the content that they need to have a great experience on the mobile web platform, and 2, use the phone during the first week for some quizzes and testing and games. And maybe maybe one of the exercises is, let's get acquainted with our new facility. So maybe there's 10 or 15 people starting. They end up going on a little scavenger hunt around the facility, and they're introducing themselves to 10 or 15 different department heads. Just kind of some very simple 5, 10, 15-minute exercises that's using mobile to engage with the company and with their fellow new people that are being onboarded.
I like that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Any more questions before we move on? That was a great one.
Yes, it was.
All right. So basic training, mobile sales support, that's a little bit what Marco was talking about. I think because sales has such a definitive ROI, that's probably one of the typical calls how do I get this information out? We work with a large company that's in the retail business. I think they have maybe 1,000 or so employees. It's not Best Buy, but it's a company kind of like Best Buy. And they send out text messages. Here's what's going to go in this circular tomorrow morning. Here's a video on a new product. Here's why we can upsell this product. Here's how we can compete against another company. And what they'll do is they'll make it really fun, really short. They'll drop it in a text or an email. And then later in the day or tomorrow morning, they will have awarded a little prize to somebody, thanking them for their quick response, and they will maybe give away a pair of headphones or a Starbucks card or something. So now you've got 1,000 people who are a little more interested in clicking that link and watching that video because they might win a $30, $40, $50 prize. And then tomorrow their name is going to be sent to all 1,000 people that they were the one in store 25 that beat out everybody else. So for a sales team, who are these folks, as you know, are very driven by rewards, I think that is a very powerful way to do it. And then some other things, QR codes can be used to access information. It could be a text, it could be a QR code. This is just a machine. So if you are thinking of training in a manufacturing environment or where you have things that are maybe breaking down, having a QR code that goes right to the video, right to the page on how to fix it, it's an idea that one of our clients came up with that we had not thought of before. HR and compliance, we talked a little bit about this, but we have quite a few organizations saying, I want to load all my HR documents. When we have an issue where I've got to get everybody to agree that they've seen some document, I'm going to email or text a link out, and they could either do it from their desktop or they could use the mobile version and do it right there on their phone or their tablet. And then we've got quite a few clients, we never would have thought about this idea, that will use the platform for meetings. One of our clients is a great hospital in Newark, Delaware called Christiana Care. They'll have a leadership meeting. They'll even have a meeting for 50 or 100 people, and they will load the content, the agenda, and then they will send out text messages during the day where there are polls and surveys. So if you're holding larger meetings, either a sales meeting or a senior management meeting, it's a very handy thing to put everything that they need for that meeting on a mobile platform. And if you have your phone handy, we've loaded some of these pieces of information onto this platform. So why don't you all take out your phone? Unfortunately, we don't have any Bose noise-canceling headphones to give away, but we'll pretend that we have some digital prize. Text in the word train to 56512, and the first person that makes a little note in the chat window gets a round of applause. I don't know, get something. So if you... So go ahead and text in train to 56512. Josh, I see you're on the phone. You're a pro at this. And what you'll get is you'll get a text back. Adam got it. Good one, Adam. And I think we've got a little link. You click the link and you go to a mobile page. And our platform renders that content differently, whether it's a computer or an iPhone or an iPad or whatever device it happens to be. So that's one way to use and get the content out. It doesn't have to be by text. It can be by email. But it's this instantaneous, let me access this when I want to. Catherine, I think that's it from me. I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. So let's go ahead and open it up. Before we wrap up here, we have 7 minutes more. Let's go ahead and open up for Q&A. Any other questions? I think Marco is still on the line, and we also have our CEO on the line. Any other questions you guys have, or while they were going over their topics that you came up with that you want to ask? Now is the time. You could go ahead and write it in the chat box, or unmute yourself and just speak up.
What if we want to do a pilot? So we want to maybe have 5 of our dealers on it. And how do we get started?
We have 2 ways to go on that. For folks that want to just play with it for a couple of weeks, we just turn on all of our tools, no charge, nothing to sign, just go ahead and play with it. For folks that want to do a couple of months, there's typically a low startup fee, and sometimes and we oftentimes have a money-back guarantee on that. So just send Catherine or Dave at Train by Sell a little note about what you want to do, or maybe Catherine will put her phone number in a little chat window. And that's the best way to go. So we can turn these services on for you to play with instantaneously. Merritt, I see your note here. No, there should never really be a network connection issue on our end. If your phone is having a little hard time accessing the internet, then of course you won't be able to access the content. Maybe click that link one more time and just see if you're connected. But with mobile web sites, it's just like accessing CNN or ESPN. It's typically always there, unless there's just some local connectivity issue. Any more questions?
Good question. And then I've placed the email and phone number on the chat box if you guys do want a copy of the presentation or have some questions or would like a demo for your team. Feel free to reach out to us and we could go ahead and coordinate that for you.
Joss is just mentioning that link did not have any content. So hold on here. That could be a Dave error. Thanks for pointing that out, Josh and Merritt. Let me fix that. Well, we'll fix it and we'll send out an email, but that was something that I typed in incorrectly, so that's why that's not coming. And we will email you folks the thing to try on your phone.
Awesome. You did get it, Merritt? Awesome.
Let me see here, Catherine. I think maybe I messed up when I turned this on.
The line. Mm-hmm.
It should be there now. Josh, could you try again? It should say, thanks for your interest in mobile with the link. Now let's just see if that link goes to the right place. Well, I messed up. Yeah, okay, that was an error. But if you do click that link and you click the header, the Train Myself logo, then you'll get into the main menu. So
all right. Okay.
Go ahead and click the logo.
I see what they're saying there now.
Yep.
I see what they're saying now, yeah.
It just goes to show anybody can make a mistake. That's me.
So for those of you who missed that, if you did text in the word train to 56512, there was a link, and when you click on that and land on the page, just go ahead and click on the logo on the top, and that should bring you onto the main menu.
Yeah. And
okay, any other questions? Any other questions before we wrap up the call? Okay, I think we are good. As always, as I mentioned earlier, we do try our best to record these webinars. Once it's done, I will send it out to everyone on the call. Or please email us or contact me to coordinate any demos if that's something that you guys want to do for your team, or to get a copy of our presentation. Dave, is there any final thoughts from you before I end the call?
No, I think the follow-up is this does not, to try mobile seems a little scary, but you can try something just like Jamie did at BMW Finance, where it's just a text message, little reminder. It could be just one or two little bits of content. I think the thing to do is find a provider that you like, work with them, learn their little their platform, and then just try a couple of things, log on to the system and see how many people did it. But I wouldn't overanalyze this. It's not as if you're taking a 60-minute course and trying to condense it into something mobile-friendly. That's not what you want to do anyway. So don't be scared of this, and we offer all of our services for free for trial. So just give us a call and say, hey, give me one of those free accounts, and then that's just how the folks at Paychex got started.
Okay, well, thank you so much, everybody, for being on this call. It's about 12 o'clock now, and I want to make sure I end this on point. We will go ahead and send an email out once this is ready. I think there's one more question. Oh, no, it's Scott. Yes, thank you, Scott. Again, thank you so much for being on this call. We hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week, and we'll catch you guys in our next live webinar. Thank you. Bye.